All right, we had a rough week last week. It happens. No worries, just means we got to bounce back. Best bet picks still hitting over 60% of the time. Glaze guarantees 3-1. After a month of doing this, we're up just over 20 units. This is Bet That. I'm Alex Glaze, and we are here to talk sports gambling, but we're just here for fun. We're not here to give you any advice, but if you follow our picks, that's on you. I'm here with Rick Garni, producer here at 11 Alive. Rick, you ready to have some fun?
Let's do it. It's all about having fun.
All right, we're going to start with a new segment. We're going to call this Go Dogs, because around these parts, we like to talk about the dogs. But we're not talking about Georgia right now. We're talking about underdogs. So this week we got Maryland giving up 7 points on the road at Temple. I like Temple. I know it's not going to be popular with my friends back in Maryland, but I like Temple to actually get it done at home this week. Now, Mike Loxley has his guys at Maryland running a new offense. They're clicking on all cylinders, outscoring opponents 142-20. They've been absolutely dominating teams. Those teams being Howard and an overrated Syracuse team. So I'm not sure how much you can really put into that. Syracuse, if you know anything about Dino Babers, they don't like defense over there. Yeah. So these numbers are a little inflated to me. I'm buying in on Temple being able to cover that number and win at home. So I think Maryland gets humbled a little bit. I don't know how good this Maryland team is.
Well, we'll find out. I see where you're coming from. You know, every year we have these teams, some teams that start 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, and by the end of the year, we forget about them. I call them the Cali Swag District teams. Remember they had the song, Teach Me How to Dougie? Yeah. Well, 9 years later, where are they? I don't know who these guys, where these guys are. We've forgotten about them. We'll probably forget about Maryland by the end of the season. I don't think they're as good as they think they are, or as some people think they are. So I like that pick. Well, I can roll with Temple, too.
The Big Ten's not as good as people think.
Exactly.
So we'll see. But hey, what's your dog you're rolling with this week?
So I'm going to Colorado for this one. Air Force at Colorado.
Okay.
The Buffaloes are the favorite, 4.5 points. I like Air Force actually to go in there and win that game straight up. Colorado, you can kind of put them in that Maryland group too, as far as, hey, they've got 2 big wins. Everybody's talking about them. Big rivalry win last week against Nebraska, but they're feeling themselves now. They're way up high. Emotion, perfect time for that emotion to come crashing down. Air Force sneaks in there. Hey, listen, the Mountain West against the Pac-12, pretty good the past couple of years. I think 7-3 in the last 10. I'm rolling with the Mountain West. I'm rolling with Air Force to beat Colorado.
I know you're fading him right now, but Mel Tucker doing a good job at Colorado. I know it's early in the season, but he's doing a really good job.
Great hire for them. They're rebuilding, though, so you're going to have moments like this where maybe you drop a game you're not supposed to. He'll be okay there. I just like Air Force this week.
All right, Rick, let's talk about our local teams around here. We're going to do a little segment I'm going to call Love It or Hate It. We're going to take a look at their lines. You tell me if you love it or hate the line. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Let's start with Georgia. Georgia's getting a big number again, 33-point favorites against Arkansas State. Now, Georgia, 1-1 against the spread this season. When they get those big numbers, it's tough to cover, especially when you get those garbage time points. Now, Arkansas State they can score points. They scored 73 points so far this season, and you know they really are a team that can score points. You know, right now Vegas is saying that this total is at 57 right now, so they're expecting this game to finish around 45-12. Now, do you think Georgia can score more than 45 points? Because I do.
I do as well. I think
so. I love this line because I think Georgia can score more than 45 points.
I absolutely do. Now, we've talked about this before. I hate these games. They're so tough because of the risk of the garbage time touchdown at the very end of the game. I also know it's very hard for teams to blow out teams and cover these large lines 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
They did it last week against Murray State. And remember, I know they said they're not looking ahead, but who does Georgia have next week?
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. People are already starting to talk about that. This normally would be a pass for me. If you're going to ask me to make a pick, I would do Arkansas State plus the 33 just because of those factors we talked about.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk some Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech getting a big number this week. 26-point favorites against the Citadel. I absolutely hate that number. Listen, and it's not just because I bet Georgia Tech last week and they completely ruined it for me down in garbage time. But hey, 26 points. Georgia Tech is not covering that number. They don't score points. They just don't score. So their offense is awful. They can't do anything. Their defense is good, but I just don't see them beating anybody by 26 points.
So you're bitter from last week still.
Maybe.
And that's part of it. But that's okay. Sometimes that happens. So here's the thing. When I was in the wrestling biz, we used to have a pro wrestling biz. I wasn't a wrestler, but I was in the business. We used to have a term for a match that fell apart. It was called bowling shoe ugly. This game is probably going to be bowling shoe ugly. I don't see Georgia Tech, I'm with you, winning by more than 26. Listen, their defense is going to be really good this year.
Yeah.
But Citadel has that triple option. I know Georgia Tech used to be a triple option team, so these guys have seen it. But 26 is a lot for a team that hasn't looked great so far, a rebuilding program. I would take the Citadel here.
And let's not fool ourselves. Georgia Tech's still running a lot of option. They're not running the triple option, but they're still running a lot of option plays. And like you said, the Citadel running that triple option, the clock is just going to keep running.
It's too big of a line.
It's
I think
a
you got to
huge
take
number.
the Citadel here. Yep.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk Falcons now. We saw how they looked against your Vikings last week. The Vikings absolutely dominated. They're getting 2 points at home against the Eagles. Now, I think that this game has a lot of potential to get really ugly. We got Chris Lindstrom out. He was starting right guard for the Falcons as a broken foot, so he's off the line now, and that offensive line really couldn't handle Minnesota. And hey, Fletcher Cox and these Eagles defensive linemen, they're no cupcakes. This is going to be a tough game for Dan Quinn, and it's going to be a tough game for the Falcons. I'm not sure that I love this line at all. I actually think I'm going to roll with hate. I hate that line.
Yeah, it's very, very tricky. I hate it as well. If it would go to 3, then that makes it a little easier. But 2 points is very tough. Listen, I think the Falcons will win this game. There's really no logic behind it. But I watched that Eagles-Redskins game on Sunday. There was a lot, if I'm an Eagles fan that I'm watching, that I did not like about that game. I think the Falcons at home will get well. I think they'll beat the Eagles, but 2 points, man. I'm going to have to take the Falcons +2 if I like them to win. But I kind of wish it would get up to 3, but I don't think it is.
Here's your logic. Your logic is when you get punched in the mouth, you can answer one of 2 ways. You can either get up and fight back, or you can lay down. And I don't think that this Falcons team has showed us that they are a team that's just going to lie down. All right, let's talk best bets. Now, these are just the bets that we're making on the show. I also make these picks on social media as well. Sometimes, Saturday, Sunday, right before a game, I'll say, I like it. So be sure to follow me on Twitter at @Alex_Glaze so you can get these picks. All right, we have a lot to say about this Iowa State game. Now, Iowa State coming off a bye at home against Iowa. We're going to get to what you got to say, but my best bet, I think Iowa is going to cover the 2 points easily, and I think that they're going to beat Iowa State like they have for the past decade. I mean, 8 of the last 11 meetings between these two teams, Iowa has won. And, Iowa State, they're coming off a bye, but they needed triple overtime to beat Northern Iowa. So I don't think that this Iowa State team is for real. I like Matt Campbell a lot, but I think that Iowa is going to be able to come into Ames. Game day is going to be there. I think they're going to still be able to come into Ames and get it done.
Here's why I disagree with you, okay? Northern Iowa is a very good FCS team.
Northern Iowa.
Very good FCS team. We are in the age now where FCS teams who are very good can come in and compete with FBS teams. We shouldn't be surprised when that happens. The game day angle you mentioned, Iowa State at home, game day, kids pumped up, players pumped up, rivalry game. I think Iowa State, now I'm taking the first half line. Iowa State is plus a half a point.
Okay.
I'm taking the first half line, Iowa State plus the half a point. That is my best bet. So technically, you and I could both end up being right here because Iowa State could tie it or at the lead at halftime, and then Iowa wins the game perhaps. I do think Iowa State wins the game. But just to be safe, because of the energy and the emotion at the beginning of the game, taking Iowa State plus the half a point at half.
And keep an eye on that total because that number has been just falling. So if you like to play that game too, just keep an eye on that as that continues to fall. All right, let's move on and we're talk some NFL now because I got Seahawks on the road at Pittsburgh. I like the total for this one right now, 46.5. I think that this game is going to go over. I know that we saw Pittsburgh look the way they looked against New England, but I think you can forget that because you're not going to be facing New England on their parade and banner night every night. So I think that Seattle can score points. We saw them. They can do that against the Bengals. Pittsburgh also can score points. They have Ben Roethlisberger. They have Juju Smith-Schuster. They have a lot of offensive weapons. So I think 46.5 points, that's a reasonable number. So I think that they'll be able to get over that.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's not going to score 3 points at home like they did this past week. I like them to score. Seattle should be able to keep pace. I think that's a good number.
All right, what's your NFL best bet?
All right, I'm going with the Saints at the Rams. Right now, the Rams a 2-point favorite. Basically, I'm picking the Saints plus the 2. I actually think they win the game. Listen, it's a revenge game. We've talked about it for a whole year, almost a whole year since the NFC Championship game.
Will they ever let it go?
The Saints will never let it go. The fans will never let it go. The players probably will never let it go. The Rams look kind of iffy against the Panthers. Maybe it takes them a while to get going. And as far as a home field advantage, they're playing in L.A., the 100,000-seat stadium. I mean, listen, L.A. sports fans, what do they care about right now? The Dodgers, Lakers starting up in a couple weeks. They're worried about LeBron and Taco Tuesday.
They're worried about the Rams right now.
They don't care about the Rams. There'll be a lot of Saints fans, by the way, in that building on Sunday. So I'm taking the Saints plus 2. I actually think they win the game.
All right, my Glaze guarantee for the week. Cowboys giving up 5.5 points on the road at Washington. But if you know anything about D.C., that is going to be a pro Cowboys fan base there in D.C. So it's going to be a home game for the Cowboys. And if you know anything about Dak Prescott, he covers 5 points against the Redskins 80% of the time. 4 out of the last 5 times that Dak has faced the Cowboys, he covers 5 points. So
that offense,
I like that.
That offense looked really good last week. The Cowboys did. I know it was against the Giants, but man, they got everything rolling right now. It's hard to see the Redskins and their offense keeping pace. I think Dallas wins by at least a touchdown, so I'm with you on that.
There we go. All right, so that's Bet That this week. Good luck to you, Rick.
You as well.
And good luck to you guys. See you next week.